Hey, Kim Staver here. I'm so excited to continue forward sharing my journey into a personal relationship with God through the study of the Bible, prayer, and acts of service. These are the three things that I have found are changing my mind and heart in ways that are just so breathtaking and such a blessing. And I want to share this journey with people because I know the world is just in kind of a weird place and going through some hard stuff, and it's scary. That's what led me to the Bible in the first place. And I want to help people find a path back to the Lord, because it is the only path that I have found that is not a dead end. I spent 15 years chasing shiny objects and running into one dead end after another. And this is something so different, and it's so amazing. So that's why I make these videos. And I'm so excited to share this next topic because it took me a long time to figure some of this stuff out. And if I can help cut down the time it takes someone else to figure some of this stuff out, that's worth it for me. So in my last video, I looked at how Christ's character is symbolized by the Lamb. And from the fall of humanity, back when Adam and Eve fell in Eden, on to the end of Satan and sin, after the millennium, after the first and second resurrection, and after the second death, Jesus Christ is still symbolized as the Lamb because his character stays the same. It doesn't change. The Lamb. The more I come to understand this analogy and what a lamb-like character means, the more I come to understand love and truth. And I really do see my sins wash away by the blood of Jesus. So in John chapter 14 and John chapter 1, Jesus said, "If you love me, then feed my lambs. And if you love me, keep my commandments." Now, I've come to understand that the lamb symbolizes a character of pure love. I see that Jesus is teaching that his people will be like him in character. Feed my lambs, and to become a lamb, one needs to keep his commandments. This leads back to Exodus chapter 20, where God wrote with his own hand the 10 Commandments on a table of stone. And just like the children of Israel, when I first read the 10 Commandments while I was reading the Bible, it was like, okay, this is what I need to do. And I had already made many changes in my life becoming a mom. And so a lot of them I had a nice check mark next to. I was like, okay, I can do this. But as I've said before, the Bible is an experiential journey. It is meant to take the person from reading something on paper through an experience that actually takes you into a relationship with the Lord and a changed mind and a changed heart full of pure love. That's what the whole journey is, on to the place of becoming a lamb. So while I thought I was keeping many of the commandments and I was doing what I needed to do to make it back, I still had a lot of this journey and experience to go through to have them start really changing my mind and my heart, to where I really started to understand that the 10 Commandments are a smaller blueprint that God built for humanity to bring the fallen nature of humanity back into harmony with love and the way he designed reality and life to work. Back in Genesis chapter 1, when God created everything, Genesis chapter 1 and 2, when God created everything before the fall, he created everything. He created the earth that we live on. He created the sun and the moon and the days and the nights. He created time. He created humans. He created all the animals and everything here. And prior to that, if you go to Hebrews chapter 1, I think it is, it says that he created all of heaven and earth. So before the earth was created, he created all of heaven. Like, the law is meant to come down to the level of fallen humanity and bring the fallen nature back into harmony with his designs. God is so much greater than the 10 Commandments. His law is so much bigger than just this law, but this law is in perfect harmony with the way he built everything to operate. So the laws, like God built gravity, he built time, he built all of these things. So the 10 Commandments are the law, and they're beautiful. And I'm seeing them work in my life and bring me back to the Lord, especially the more deeply I understand what they mean. Because on paper, the meaning seems kind of like, okay, I can do that. It's pretty simple. But as it starts entering my mind and my heart, I start to see the magnitude of what each commandment entails and what it means. And that's really kind of what I want to go through with some of this stuff, because this goes into that time-old question. I've spent a lot of time praying about this, and I've spent a lot of time wondering about how this works, because I spent most of my adult life estranged from the Lord, and I can't just say the Lord, estranged from Jesus and the supernatural war between Jesus and Satan, and wanted to see God from more of like a spiritual place and kind of stay out of all the religious type stuff. But Jesus is the one that's changed everything for me. And he is the one that came to show the true character of God. And only through me looking at him have I been able to come to understand what love is and have my mind and my heart change into a fuller love. I wasn't a horrible person before God. I wasn't cruel. I didn't go hurt people. I was a snob, and I was focused on very selfish things, but I still wasn't out stealing from people and hurting people and going all kinds of crazy in those ways. And if people are out there doing that, God's healing is greater than any sin that human can do. As long as the mind and the heart come to a place to where they're willing to change, God can heal anyone. But I kept many of the commandments. And the ones that I didn't keep, I don't know that I would have understood why they were important. And as I come to further understand the 10 Commandments, which are the lesson book of love for humanity, I come to see why they are necessary. So the first 4 commandments are basically wrapping up love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength. And then the next 6 commandments are basically entailing love thy neighbor. So in this life, say someone is a good person and they're kind and they're pretty loving and they've pulled a lot of stuff together, but they're not so much into Jesus or God or anything. And let's use myself as an example, because this was totally me. I was a pretty decent person. There were things that I could improve upon. I was also pretty selfish. And I thought I could do it all my way without loving God above all else. I remember when I was younger hearing I'm supposed to love God more than my family or my kids or anything. That makes no sense. Like, why would you follow a God that you love, that you would even need to love more than everything else? Like, why? That makes no sense to me. But I come to see now that it's only through me loving God more than all these other things can I cut all the things in the world away that are holding me back from coming to truly get to know God personally for who He is. And there's a quote, I've been praying about this to try to understand it, and I was led to this quote by one of my favorite authors, Ellen White, and it says, "The children of God are those who are partakers of His nature. It is not earthly rank, nor birth, nor nationality, nor religious privilege, which proves that we are members of the family of God. It is love, a love that embraces all humanity. Even sinners whose hearts are not utterly closed to God's Spirit will respond to kindness. While they may give hate for hate, they will also give love for love. But it is only the Spirit of God that gives love for hatred." And this is the answer that I was looking for, because it's true. In life, if someone is kind to you, it's easy to be kind back. If someone's rude to you, it's easy to be rude back. And, you can, be cordial back. Before I came onto this portion of my journey, if someone was rude to me, I just would kind of avoid it. Every once in a while, I'd kind of lose my temper a little bit, but in general, I didn't like fighting, didn't like animosity, and I would do pretty much everything I could to avoid it. But if someone super wronged me or took something from me, I did not have the love of God in my heart to where I would love them in return. They came and were rude, like did something just unspeakable, and in response, all I cared about was their welfare. That is not something that I was capable of, and this is the key to the love of God in the heart and what Jesus shows. The Lamb shows the character of love and how powerful love is. Love is so powerful that it can conquer Satan and sin in all of their conjuring. The character of the Lamb, the entire point of everything, the character of love. As I continue to study this, it brings me on to one of my most favorite quotes of all time by another of my favorite authors, Tim Jennings, MD. And it is in this book, The God-Shaped Brain, and it is phenomenal. It is a phenomenal book. Anyone who's interested in reading it, I will literally mail you a copy. I'm serious. Just put a comment or a note, and I will get your info and mail you the book. Anyways, he says, Jesus proved beyond any doubt that he is safe with all power because he will never use his power in self-interest. What an awesome God. He'd rather let his creatures abuse and kill him than use his power to stop them. What freedom, what liberty we have with God. Truly worthy, worthy, worthy is the Lamb who was slain. He is worthy to have all power because he has proven he is safe with all power. And this is so true. And the ticket to understanding the necessity of Jesus Christ, the necessity of the first 4 in loving the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, and with all thy soul. Because Jesus is exceptional in that he is the only person to ever live who did not use power to build up self, to exalt self in any way. He had all power and left it to come and to a finite state from the infinite state and serve humans, to come to our level, and not only come to our level, but to serve humans, and to love so deeply that he let humans kill him. So the more I study Jesus, the more I study the cross, the more I come to see why and how he is so different than everyone, and the more I come to understand what love is. I had no clue what love was most of my life, and I still think that even though I've come way further in my understanding, I'm still barely scratching the surface, which just lets me know how completely void I was in the whole realm for much of my life, which thankfully in the sum of eternity wasn't that long. So, but there are 4 things that, as I continue to study this, that have come to me in a really deep way that I think are so important. And the first is, love does not judge. In Matthew chapter 7, verse 1, Jesus taught, "Judge not, that ye be not judged." As Jesus built the character of the Lamb, he had to do this just like humans have to do this. He lived a human life. He lived from the human limitations that we have to live from. And he was tempted in ways that are greater than we can ever comprehend, because he had power that we will never comprehend. He just was so humble. He almost didn't know. But anyways, judge not that ye be not judged. Jesus knew and understood that when the mind and heart judge God or their fellow man, it closes the mind and the heart off to God and to love. Because God is love, they're synonymous. It closes the mind and heart to love, to God. And when that happens, the mind and the heart harden, and Satan has a step in the door. And Jesus never wanted to sever his connection to the Father, to pure love. And he did not judge. Humans, on the other hand, judge all the time. Before reading Christ's teachings on this, I think that I was probably internally one of the most judgmental people I know. Like, I just was very into how things looked, and and right there along with the way I was judging through my thoughts, the world around me, the people around me, I was judging God too. Very deeply judging God. And my mind and my heart were so hardened. And as I come to pray to God to show me how to love others the way he loves them, show me how to not judge, and I catch myself when I'm judging people and remind myself that I don't know the heart. I don't know someone else's situation. It is not my place to judge anyone, no matter how much it seems like I should. I know that when I judge, it closes my mind and my heart off to God, because I was closed in that way. And only through coming through this experiential process have I come to see the love that I was missing through the actions of judgment. And if we look to Jesus, he didn't judge anyone. He said, "He who is without sin, throw the first stone." He's the only person that's ever lived that had the right to judge, because first of all, he is God, and second of all, he lived without sin. But he did not judge. He did not throw a stone. He never did, because he knew this lesson. But the humans that he told this to did not know this lesson, and they did not learn this lesson, and they continued to judge through these human systems of judgment that we have, all the way to the point of judging Jesus, even though it was through a false trial, but judging him to the punishment of death. It is not for humanity to judge, because humanity in its fallen state is out of harmony with love, and punishment will not change the heart or mind. It cannot, because it is void of the power and love of God. So that is the first thing that I have come to learn, and I'm so grateful for that lesson. And yes, and moving on to the second thing. Love does not harm. In Romans chapter 13, verse 10, it says, "Love does no wrong to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law." At the cross, after humans decided to go forward and judge Jesus, though falsely accused, onto the punishment of death, it hardened their hearts enough to where they were then able to harm. They were able to let Satan come on in their hearts and their minds and lead them towards feeling that it was within their right and their realm to hurt through their words and through physical harm, all the way up to endless torture and actual murder. This lesson could be talked about for hours, for a millennium, for eternity. When the mind and the heart start to harm another, they close themselves off to God, who is love. They close themselves off to love. And when the heart and mind are closed to love, is left open to Satan, who will gladly help that mind and heart harm others. So, developing that lamb-like character, do not judge and do not harm. The third thing that Jesus teaches me on the cross is that love is not self-preserving. So, growing up in this world, I don't know about anyone else out there, but for me, I kind of came to this picture that survival of the fittest. If I want to get ahead in this life, or if I want to protect myself against someone who's going to hurt me, I need to fight or flight. I need to protect myself. But Jesus doesn't teach this in his teachings or in his actions. He had the conjuring of all of Satan's, through the closed minds and hearts, Satan conjured every power that he could of sin and threw it at Jesus. And Jesus endured all of it because he wanted to stay in harmony with love and keep his mind and heart in harmony with love and the way God built everything to operate, and to stay in harmony with the Father and the Spirit. But he also wanted salvation for everyone else. He wanted them to see the truth of this, of what happens to a mind and heart that are closed to God, to a mind and heart that judges, that harms, that that is willing to hurt someone else to save themselves. These things hurt us. They hold us back. They held me back. And as I start to build this relationship with God and grow closer to Him and come to understand love and shed these sins and these lies and this hardened heart away, I come to see God's love, and I come to see others the way that God does, and I don't want to lose that love. I don't want to harm anyone, ever. I never liked harming anyone in the first place, but I don't want to judge anyone. I don't want to harm anyone, and I don't want to preserve myself at the cost of someone else. I want everyone else to find this too, because the reward is so much greater than anything that we can experience in this temporal life. And then the last thing is that love can only exist in an environment of freedom. This one is an interesting one, but it's so true. The more and more I'm able to wrap my mind around it. Christ stood for truth, even when it meant a very cruel death by hearts and minds that were closed to love. And in so doing, He left all free to see and choose for themselves throughout His life, on through His death. God wants us to use our minds. He wants us to choose for ourselves. He wants us to build our own character, and He wants to heal us from the poor decisions that we've made. He does not want robots. Love can only exist if two parties agree to love. And Jesus came to love, but the others that He came to love, many of the people that He came to love, who was another party, think individual by individual, they had the chance, they made their own choices. They chose not to love back because it wasn't in harmony with their plan, or whatever the reason. They chose not to love back. And that is free will. That is freedom. God gives the space, the evidence, the choice. So these are 4 things that are foundational in the lessons that Christ came to teach through His life and show, so we could see what love is and who the Father is, who is love. And this just leads me to Isaiah chapter 55 verses 6 through 9, where it says, "Seek ye the Lord while He may be found. Call ye upon Him while He is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and He will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for He will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." And this is so true, and exactly what Jesus came to show. Love does not operate through judgment, through harm, through the other things. Love is seen in the character of the Lamb. The Lamb is harmless and innocent and kind. And Christ's people will build the character of the Lamb. And this is a process that requires learning to let these things go. As I let these things go, I grow in love and I grow closer to God. And as I grow in love, the world expands And I know that as I get to the next level of love in the path that the Lord is leading me down, it will continue to expand, because this is not a dead end. And as the world gets darker, it's because people are closing themselves off from love. The world's getting darker because there is less love, because love resides in the mind and the heart of those who accept God. So as people continue to shut off more and more from loving God, the Lord thy God, with all thy heart and all thy might, all thy soul and all thy strength, and close off from loving their neighbors, the love of God gets smaller, and Satan has more play to come into the minds and hearts of people and wreak havoc on everything. God is love. He is protection. And he is knocking at the door of every single heart on this planet. And he's just waiting for each of us to open our minds and our hearts to him and see him for who he is. He is love. He is our protector. It is Satan and Satan's lies about God that keep us from coming to know God and allow Satan to come into our mind and our heart and lead us down paths that are no good and completely dark. So I'm so grateful that I finally started to pray and picked up the Bible, and then from picking up the Bible and coming to know Jesus, started to do kind things for strangers and different people, and quit judging people, and try to, hold love as my highest thing. When I'm about to lose my temper with my kids or have too many things going on, I'm not perfect by any means, but I try to catch myself and remind myself, what am I valuing right now above love? Because love is the most valuable thing, and love is the thing that keeps my mind and my heart from hardening. I want love to be my highest ideal no matter what, in all things, and that is a lifetime journey. It's one that even in this life, I likely will never fully accomplish, but that's okay, because I want to keep growing in that for the rest of my life. So anyways, that is what I've come to learn through the 10 Commandments. And thank you for taking the time to let me share that with you. And yeah, until next time, pray, read, and love. God bless. I will put my laws into their hearts, and in their minds will I write them. Hebrews 10:16.